All right, so welcome to the Nathaniel podcast. Today we have a good friend of mine, a very special guest, one of a kind. I don't see a lot of sales coach in Twitter, but my friend Cory here is a sales coach, Woody Sales on X. So would you like to introduce yourself, Cory?
Yeah, well, first of all, I really appreciate you having me, man. I know this has been in the works for since our first conversation, which was not too long ago, but we've had many great conversations since then. So I'm really excited to be here and kind of hash things out in this format. It should be really fun for the next hour or so. So personally, a little bit about myself. My name is Cory Woodward. I am a sales coach. I have been in sales and entrepreneurship for over 10 years. Really the entirety of my professional career. I grew up around sales. My dad had a sales company when I was growing up. So, anytime in between school and baseball practice, I was in the office just because they didn't have anywhere else to dump me. So really, something like this has probably been building since I was a kid. Um, I'm really excited about it, really passionate about it. I will say kind of my niche that I've been getting into, and maybe I'm going a little bit too in detail here for and about me, but my niche, the people who I really work with mostly are people who are uh, intermediate to advanced sales and
Right.
doing things along those lines. So, Nathaniel, I know that we've already gotten into the nitty gritty of some sales approaches. You know that I really like to go down rabbit holes. So,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I see my specialty at, is really going down personalized rabbit holes and things of that nature. So, yeah, that's me. I'm an open book. If you guys ever want to find out anything more about me, hit me up just like Nathaniel did, and be happy to chat with anybody.
Yeah. Your username is Woody Sales in X. I'm curious, like, what's the inspiration behind Woody Sales?
So Woody is actually a childhood nickname based on my last name. My
All right.
grandpa was also called Woody. So everything I kind of do is Woody's this, Woody's that. It's a
Mm,
lot more rare than Cory. So, when it comes to like usernames and standing out a little bit, Woody kind of stands out. And when I did first start that X account, I was probably going to brand everything as like Woody. That was my initial goal, or not goal, but my initial intent. Um,
mm.
and then, I started reading into like personal brands and things that I kind of wanted to build. And I was like, no, I gotta be a little more personable than a nickname. So I
Mm.
left the at the same because that's just a pain in the what to change.
Yeah,
But I rolled with, my real name on Twitter and on my website and everything.
gotcha. So what was your initial name in Twitter? Just Woody or
Yeah, it was just I started as just Woody's Sales. And before that, I actually initially made this account to um stir up leads for my 9 to 5, or at least to see if I could. I didn't know if
mm,
I could,
gotcha.
because I had utilized Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, as top of funnel before for some
Right.
other websites that I had. So I wanted to see if there was some low hanging fruit on there. So that was my initial intent. And then I kind of got into the solopreneur world and kind of noticed, well, I guess I will back up and say I was getting a million sales pitches a day, despite the fact that I was like following no one. It was crazy. You know how you get at least 10 sales pitches in your DMs, no matter who you are, what you do.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was getting all these sales pitches, and I was just sitting there thinking,
This is
these are
horrible.
terrible. Yeah. What are these people doing, man? And like every time I'd click through, and most of them would have like no proof of concept, nothing at all, right? Um, but every once in a while, I would get one where I'm like, okay, like their product is actually interesting.
Mm.
If they had a decent enough approach, they could probably, they're putting in this work, they could probably make some sales. And so that's kind of where it was born. And then, Woody Sales was initially born. And then
Mm.
my kind of personal brand that I
Right.
started building, um, was born out of just seeing terrible sales pitches over and over and over again.
I
Um,
totally get that. I
Yeah, man. I'm
totally
like,
get
if
that.
there's this many people out there that are like this bad at this, like there has to be some market to help them like get better.
Yeah, definitely, dude. And that's great because again, I mentioned earlier, I don't see a lot of sales coach, but now that you point it out, I think there is like a lot of potential in being a sales coach because when someone pitches you something, it's like you can that's already a lead for you, right? Like that's already you can already say, look, this cold DM just won't work. Like this just won't work. But you know what? I'm gonna give you a shot. Let's go to a call and we'll see what you got. You know what I mean? I think that like you could do something like that. Or have you done something like that?
A little bit. So honestly, up to this point, I haven't really pushed my offer.
Right.
I've had a couple of signups just from like real life referrals, right?
Yeah.
Nothing really on X or anything. And kind of my goal is to right now is to make connections and prove to people that there is something there.
Gotcha.
So what I've been doing when I've been getting these terrible DMs, and some of them are just not worth even messing with, but some have like potential, and the ones that I see, if they have a good offer or if there's potential in their approach or
Yeah.
something, I will DM them back and be like, hey, look, this is like, I appreciate you reaching out.
Mm.
I'm sure if you did your research, you read my bio, you know a little bit about me and like what my specialty is. You got to change this, man. Like, and honestly, like 9 out of 10 people are extremely receptive to it.
Mm.
It's actually been interesting for me to see because I'm so used to salespeople who have this massive ego. You tell
Mm.
them, hey, you should change this or change that. They're
Mm.
like, no, I'm doing just fine. Like I make my money and I'm,
Yeah.
you back off. But so that's kind of what led me to the next step in that, I really want to work with people who know what they're doing, have probably already sold, their product or their
Mm.
offer, but have never been in sales specifically, and so they
Right.
may be missing some of the more advanced concepts.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're not going to have that ego that a salesman would, where, oh yeah, I've developed this over the last year, and like, um, where salespeople, I should say, are, I'm one of them, and they're an egotistical bunch. I will say that
Yeah.
much. So,
That that is true. I honestly like just memories. I used to reply to all the cold DMs because I was trying to be nice, I was trying to be friendly. So whenever like someone shoot me a DM, I would reply to them and be like, no, I'm not interested. No, I'm not interested. But then it just got to a point where they just got more annoying when you responded to them. Like
yeah,
they would try to hard sell with you. Like they would try to say, oh yeah, why don't you want it? Like dude, you didn't even ask for my problem. You don't even know what's wrong with my business right now. You didn't even like introduce yourself. You didn't ask how I was. And it just like at this point, I just leave them in the cold DM. So to the people who are in my cold DMs right now, I'm really sorry, but yeah, it doesn't work.
no, it doesn't. And I see a lot of people out there, you know, uh, saying you should do this as a closer and that as a
Mm.
closer. I hate that word. I hate that word, closer. I hate
Why?
it,
Why?
man.
Why?
Well, it's like it's putting such emphasis on the sale, right?
Mm.
When in reality, like, for me to effectively sell something to you, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, you're an intelligent person, you know what your business needs,
Mm.
right? So I'm not gonna just sit there and close you like, hey, look, I have this product. Why don't you buy it? Like, that that's what I think of when I hear the word like closer. And I understand that there's some nuance to it, but it goes back to like, I've effectively waged a war on like old school sales for the
Mm.
last like 10 years.
Mm.
Everything I've tried has been different because I just hate the way old
Right.
school sales like set up.
Mm.
Um, and it's like this building of tension,
Right.
um, where it's like, hey Nathaniel, how are you today? Love your content. And it's like, And then if you do get somebody to hop on a call with you, right? Like, or if they get somebody to hop, not you, but them, if they
Yeah.
get somebody to hop on a call with them after this like weird DM thing,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, how are you? Where are you from? How's the weather there? And this whole time you're sitting there like, all right, so when are you gonna get to it? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's 83 degrees. It's nice here. Like, are we ever going to actually get to the reason why I'm here today?
Yeah.
And it's just such a lack of value of time, such a lack of value of trust,
Mm.
that it just frustrates me to no end. And I think that there's so much better ways to go about it, to put
Right.
it simply.
Right. So you mentioned there, like you have been waging a war in traditional sales, right? And you kind of give a glimpse right now of how traditional sales looks like. But like, what is it in traditional sales? Like, what's the key thing that you really kind of just want? Well, you mentioned closers, right?
Mhm.
But other than that, like, what is the other thing that you also think is wrong in a way?
Well, I think that there is such a sense, and when you think of like a sleazy salesman,
Mm.
what makes a sleazy salesman sleazy, excuse me. It's the fact that they are trying to trick you in a way
Mm.
that is, legal. They'll do anything within their bounds to get that sale, right?
Right.
Um, and I can't stand that, man. Like, I
Mm.
want you to be happy. I want me
Mm.
to be happy. So
Right.
let's try and be happy together,
Mm.
right? Like,
Mm.
rather than I want the money in my bank account. I don't want it in yours. And like if you go and work a sales job, man, you'll hear that so often. It's just like and I think that's actually a line from Wolf of Wall Street. It's like,
Yeah.
I knew how to spend their money better. I would take
Yeah.
the money out of these retirees' bank accounts and put it in
Yeah.
mine because I knew how to spend it better. And it's like, dude, no, like I don't want to do that. Like,
Yeah.
if I sell you something, I want you to walk away, and if it's a product that you need, then I want
Mm.
it to fulfill that need for you. If it's a product that you want, then I want it to fulfill that want for you. And if it's a product that's going to benefit you, then I want to make sure that it is beneficial to you.
Mm.
So like that's the big thing to me. And so many people, I see it time and time again on sales calls, especially with, solopreneurs or people who have an offer, whatever. Um, they want to build this
Right.
value before they ever say the price.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, why are you trying to trick me? Let's be
Mm.
upfront about what's happening here rather than acting like it's just some casual conversation where you're dropping in, oh, well, my thing can help you with that. Also, how's your wife? Like, it's like trying to hide the actual sales process.
Yeah.
Like, no, I want it to be transparent but mutually beneficial.
Yeah. Gotcha. So it's more of like the mindset thing. That's what I'm hearing right now is that the traditional salesman, or what you mentioned, the sleazy salesman, he's like trying to trick you, like he's trying to get your money. So that's kind of like, I think that's what you're getting at. You don't want salespeople to think I'm going to get his money and trick him.
Yeah, and I think that so many people are well intentioned. I will say
Mm.
that. But the tactics left over from handshake sales, door to door
Mm.
sales, the initial era of cold calling, B2C cold calling, I think that the tactics still remaining from that are what are fed to well intentioned people as this is how you increase your sales. This is how
Mm.
you learn about selling. And
Mm.
there's just we're in a completely different era. Like we're on the other side of the world from one another talking on a Zoom meeting, on a podcast. Like we don't have to, go knocking on people's doors to sell our product anymore.
Yeah.
Why are we still using the same
Wow.
tactics to try and sell?
Wow. That makes so much sense. Wow, that blew my mind. So because of technology, it does change, right? Because right now I'm thinking, actually, I don't know if this is like a valid point, but for me, I think before a sales call, if a person already like my train of thinking is that people are already bought in even before the sales call if they really like you.
Yeah, it could be. That absolutely could be the case.
Mm,
And I think that with so many great marketers, copywriters, personal
mm,
brand experts, that oftentimes that is the case,
mm,
which I think is why, sales hammers into a very specific part of the return on investment for your time,
mm.
right? So I think that it hammers into one of two things. Number one, the people who are not fully convinced, right? They
Right.
see five other people similar to you. They're not you. Of course, you build your
Mm,
own personal brand for a reason, but five other people similar to you. And um, you know, the way you separate is through that sales process,
right.
right? And then the second thing would be higher ticket, more white glove service items,
Mm,
or items, offers, whatever you want to call it, right?
mm,
So if something's really important, like let's say a client wants to pay 30 grand for it, and they're going to go around, shop prices, shop exactly what's going to get done. And you're gonna, if you come in 5, 10 grand higher than the lowest cost, you have to have a good reason for
mm.
being 5, 10 grand higher. And sales is just the process of explaining that good reason in a
Right.
way that leads them to the same conclusion that you have.
Gotcha. So what I'm understanding is that sales is just really the justification of your pricing of, well, first your pricing, and then to explain that you how you're different from other people. Am I getting this right?
Those are two major points. Yeah. So I
Mm,
think if you want to boil it down simply, if you were, if an alien came from outer space and you
mm,
wanted to explain sales to them, I think that
mm,
that is a great, two-line
mm,
explanation of sales. Why
right.
does it cost what it costs? And how is it going to benefit, especially, how is it going to benefit the prospect, especially compared to what else they could get?
Gotcha.
Um, so that is the absolute base level. And then you start branching out from sales to the sales process.
Mm,
And it starts looking a little bit different because you're talking about people who are getting trapped in that bottom part of the funnel, right?
mm,
You've worked them through, you've gotten them in the top of funnel, they're in your funnel, you've gotten them through, the second, third, fourth
mm,
level, and they're in that fifth level and they're trapped there.
mm,
And that's where you can really start increasing your return on investment, especially as somebody who is, an expert on top of funnel, somebody who's an expert on middle of funnel, like,
mm,
um, I'll go back to it again, like copywriters, personal brand experts, like all the people who have the marketing skills that I do not have, to put it simply. That those people who you may not even know are getting trapped in the bottom of that funnel. That's where
mm.
your sales process can really slide the stopper
Right.
out
Hmm.
and get the
So that
rest of them down through to you.
gotcha, gotcha. Okay. I think I may have not understood sales as well as I thought. Speak to, especially like a sales coach. So this is great. I'm learning a lot. I'm just curious then, like, so you're saying that the traditional way is kind of like sleazy, and like the knocking on doors is already kind of like outdated, especially now in the digital age. So what would a sales pitch or call look like in your perspective? Like, how should it look like?
I think that that's a fantastic question, and it's one that I've gotten from more advanced people actually over the past like week. And so I've done a lot of thinking into it, and I have to say that it's extremely dependent. I'm going to give you a little bit of a cop out answer here. It's
Mm,
extremely dependent, but there are main pillars,
principles. Okay.
that you should have. And number one is you have to build some kind of trust. You have to establish some kind
Right.
of trust, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you've already have a relationship, like if I already have a relationship with you, you know that you're coming on here to hear about what I'm telling you. I
Mm,
still have to build the trust that I am not going to go off the rails and, basically lie to you about this, that, or the other thing. Um, and so that's really what I started with my X account and everything was building the foundation of trust.
Right.
And that's one thing that so many people are missing. So I think that would be the number one pillar. The number two pillar would be confidence.
Mm.
You could build that trust, but if you don't have any confidence, then there's a serious problem. You probably should not be on that sales call if you don't have confidence in your offer.
Right.
Right? Because if I'm sitting here going, oh man, I'm going to charge him $500. Can I actually deliver, $500, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, like whatever I charge him, can I actually give him that much value? You're toast, man. You need to go back and work on your offer before
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you get on the phone with anybody. You got to have confidence in that. So that would be the second pillar for me. And the third pillar would be closing clearly, right?
Mm.
So many people want to hide that close and make it the first fulcrum, right?
Mm.
In the call, the first turning point where you're actually getting a commitment, where you're actually asking a pivotal question, would be that close. That should not be your first fulcrum. So I would say
Mm.
the third pillar would be not hiding your actual sale
Mm.
behind the value that you're trying to build. And
Right.
that would be the three main pillars, in my opinion, of a new age sale as I personally see it.
Mm. Yeah, I read your blog about that. What you said about not hiding the price, the sale, right? So, um, just to clarify that, why do you think the traditional path or traditional sales call hides the price first?
Because I think that initially, and once again, we are talking about things that came from door-to-door sales, cold calls, B2C cold calls, B2B cold calls
Mm.
to some extent. We are talking about things where if I knocked on your door and I
Mm.
said, "Hi, my name's Cory. What's your name?" You said Nathaneal. Oh, it's fantastic to meet you, Nathaneal. It's a beautiful day out. Hey, how would you feel about spending $999 to get these windows redone?
Mm.
You'd be like, dude, get the hell out of here. Get off my property.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what? So that's when you start with, hey, I see, you got a little chip in this window. That could lead to a crack. Have you thought
Mm.
about that at all? And then, no, I haven't thought about that. And this is kind of the old school, right?
Mm.
And so now you go and say, hey, did you know that, that chip could be costing you $100 a month on your energy bills?
Wow.
Oh, I didn't know that,
Mm.
So all this, you're building value and
Right.
value and
Mm-hmm.
value and
Mm-hmm.
value. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I could get this fixed for you probably like $999. So, I mean, that seems obvious, right?
I
Oh, yeah,
see.
I'll totally do that.
Yeah, yeah,
But now if you and I were to get on a sales call, and I'll use the same example I used with you last week, actually, computers,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Let's say I'm selling a computer because one's right in front of me. And you and I were to get on a sales call about a specialized computer, right? It's really fancy.
Right.
You needed it for your podcasts. It's
Mm.
going to be awesome. But anyway, you and I get on a sales call and I go, so Nathaniel, I see your connection's not great. Is that computer old? You'd be like, hey, fuck you, man. like like
Right.
talking shit about my computer. Like, what do
Okay.
you mean? And like that's the difference here is, you know, we're not knocking on doors. It's so you don't have to build that value before you mention a price. You can get that upfront commitment. And one thing that people value and that I value for myself, I'm sure
Mm.
you do for yourself as well, is their time, right?
Mm.
And so if you and I aren't going to be a good fit and we have an hour-long discovery call scheduled out, right? And I'm sitting here talking about the value of this, that, and the other thing. And in minute number 55, I go, and it's only $50,000. And you're and you're like,
You just wasted my
dude,
time.
yeah, I could have been on a sales call. I could have been making money doing this, that. Like, what are we doing here, right?
Yeah.
Um, So that's really the big difference to answer what I believe was your question. I know I've gone on a bit of a rant,
Mm,
but that's really the big difference, is that the expectations are different and the way that we value time is different. It's much more fast paced and everything's so much more interconnected because of the internet, of, sites like X, like
mm,
people are going into the conversation with a lot more knowledge, intelligence, and value of their time, basically.
yeah. So that's where I think, and I'd like to see your perspective on this. I think the sales call, like, I don't think a lot of people um need to go on sales calls anymore. I think that people have already bought something from the internet just by seeing the price or seeing the value, like the copywriting. Like when they go to the sales page and they already like it. I don't know. I'd like to see your thinking on this, because as you said, you want the price like already laid out. And
So I think, not to
okay,
cut you off, I was actually writing something up about this just the other day.
okay.
I think that you are absolutely correct in your overall assumption there, right?
Mm,
Which is why my thing is a pretty distinctive niche, right?
right.
Um, in terms of what I'm helping people with. So I think that, first of all, if you are taking sales calls, there's a good chance that you don't have your price posted, which is
Mm,
fine, right? Because in the beginning of the sales process, you want that posted. So when somebody clicks on your website, to me, I still consider that marketing and branding,
mm,
right? It's when they go to take action, that's when your sales process begins.
right.
Um, so that's the separation in terms of, getting them to accept that price with marketing and branding versus getting them to accept that price within your sales process.
Mm,
Um, and you are 100% right that the more we move towards the digital age, the more the marketing and branding matters, right?
right.
Marketing, branding, copywriting, whatever you want to call it, the stuff that people read, not the
Mm,
stuff that people hear.
yeah.
Um, and you see that being the case. You could even talk about like short form TikTok videos, right?
Mm,
It's not one-on-one.
mm,
However, I do truly believe that there are three main things, and once again, I'll use three again. Apparently, that's my number today. There are three main things that still give you the advantage if you are good, or can give you an extra advantage,
right.
or give you an advantage if you have a optimized or good sales process, right?
Yeah.
The first one is, once again, high ticket white glove, right?
Mm,
Um, and I will say this: high ticket means different things to different people,
mm,
right? So if your offer is $1,000,
mm,
right? If you go and bring that to Apple, like, dude, they probably spend that on toilet paper like once every 3 minutes, like that's nothing.
yeah.
That's not even pennies.
Mm,
But if you go and bring it to Joe Smo, who's just getting started, you know, and is trying to leave his 9 to 5 and saving up money for that, that's a huge investment,
yeah.
right? And the value of talking to him is going to be something that he, cannot be replicated, in my
Mm,
opinion. I know that there are people out there who have a different opinion on that. That's fine. Um, I think that the value there cannot be replicated, the value of a one-on-one interaction. Okay.
right.
And I think that the most valuable one-on-one interaction that we could have, if you're not including in person, because we're doing this globally, right?
Mm,
The most valuable one-on-one interaction that we could have is something like we're doing right now, like a
mm,
meeting like this, right?
mm,
Um, where I could still look you in the eyes. If I get squirrely, you're going to be able to tell,
mm,
right? So I think that that's really the first part. The second part is the people getting caught up in the bottom of your funnel that we discussed before,
mm,
right?
right.
There will always be people caught up in the bottom of your funnel And I truly believe in a qualification before ever jumping on these calls. So I think you
Right.
should qualify twice. I'm a huge fan of qualifications. So once before you ever jump on a call, that way nobody's time is wasted if it's not the right fit. Right. And
Mm,
then once as soon as you get on the call, so it's the same thing. Nobody's time is
mm,
wasted. You can just go a little more in depth.
mm,
So I think having the ability to do that while also qualifying so you're not wasting anybody's time
mm,
can increase your return on investment if you're strong on those calls, if you have an
mm,
optimized sales process. And the third thing is, I think that a lot of the sales process has to do with outreach,
mm,
right? When you get somebody into the sales process part,
mm.
um, it's really the one-on-one interaction,
Right.
unless they're buying from a high level, right? There's like an off
Right.
ramp of the funnel right before the sales process that they could
Right.
take. Um, I just think that not everyone is used to taking that off ramp, and I think that it
Mm,
makes sense to optimize every single part of the funnel. So that's kind
mm,
of why I have a um, very direct niche. I think it's worth a lot of money if you do optimize that very bottom of your funnel,
mm.
especially if you're already converting X amount and you want that return on investment. But what I'm saying in general is that I don't disagree with you.
Mm.
I just think that there is still money to be made there.
Yeah, I totally get it. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it is very important, especially for like, at least in my perspective, for beginners, because when you don't have a lot of authority and you don't have, like, you're just starting out, you will be forced to do outreach. Like, there's not a lot of inbound leads that's going to come to you. So when you're just starting out with your personal brand, it's going, I think it's necessary for you to like have a knack for sales, for DMs, for one-to-one interactions. And I think that's where your, sales comes in, right? The one-to-one interactions.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, I just gotta click around on here real quick. All right, I'm back. Yeah, I was listening, but yeah, the one-on-one interactions, especially for beginners, and I think that intermediates, right?
Right.
So if you are looking to go from, I'm just gonna throw random numbers because everybody likes to start with this one number,
Mm.
10K a month,
Yeah.
right? If you got your 10K a month, right? You got it. That's awesome. You know what the fastest way to scale to 15 is?
What?
Taking advantage of those people who are already trapped in your funnel,
Wow.
right?
Mm,
And dude, if I'm like, like if you could get another 5 grand MRR, if you can increase your MRR 50%
mm,
as quick as possible
mm.
by jumping on a few phone calls.
That actually makes sense.
Yeah, it
You
sounds like a no-brainer, right?
yeah, it makes so much sense what you're saying with the 10K, because when you're building up to that 10K, you're probably already building like a lot of authority. Also, especially in like X, you're gonna post like you're gonna post results, right? For your clients, like you did this and you did that. And then once you do that, once you build that credibility, more people will follow you. And as you mentioned, they're gonna be stuck in the middle of that funnel. And then just a little bit of push, like hopping on calls. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah. So you seem to really like know a lot about sales, and I'd like to get more into the you mentioned earlier 10 years in the sales industry, entrepreneurship. I'd like to get more into that. You said that your dad had a sales agency, am I correct?
So it was actually an access control company. It's kind of like a middleman for security stuff, but
Right.
their whole thing was selling. So yeah, more or
Okay.
less.
So security stuff, can you explain to me? Sorry, I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, so basically, they would sell products for the manufacturer, and you're talking about like ID cards, the systems that you scan into, the printers to print out,
Mm,
the lanyards, all that type stuff.
right.
Um, so airports, hospitals,
Right.
anywhere they need security, universities,
Gotcha.
so that was really what he did. And it was just a small business that, it was just selling all day,
Mm,
and it was a lot of different types of sales. So, um, that's really where I kind of ran into the different types of sales. I'd walk into one employee's office and they'd be talking about the dog's name, the prospect's dog's name. And then I'd be walking into another office and they'd be sitting there doing math like, okay, we're going to be able to save you this amount of money. And like, so it's just the different types of sales is something that I was really exposed to like early. And I didn't even think of it until I started working in sales.
gotcha. And curious if you grew up in that traditional, you mentioned earlier a traditional sales. Was your like dad's agency doing that before? Traditional or
They definitely were much more along the traditional sales route.
right,
And when I first got into sales, I also started doing that. That's
right.
just, the best salespeople were doing that. So you
Gotcha.
did it. Um, and then it felt bad to me. It didn't feel right. So
Yeah,
like that's, uh, immediately I was like, okay, I got to do this a little bit differently.
right. And how did that realization come to you? Like how did you think, man, this traditional thing isn't working for me?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't even really know what to call it. It was just like what I had learned from all the other salespeople in
Mm,
terms of like the process and technicalities. Um, and I came to learn it as soft skills. But to answer your question, um, I learned it wasn't right for me when I got my first sales job, and my first month I sucked. Like I was just terrible. And I was
yeah,
getting hung up on left and right. Like, um, I was really bad. And
right.
so I was like, all right, I'm gonna stop trying to copy everybody else. Like if I continue to be bad and I'm just being bad by being myself and having fun with it,
It's
then
out for me.
yeah, that's fine. Like I'll do something else.
Right. And what was this sales like? What were you selling at this stage?
So I was selling a little bit different, but security products because that's what I
Oh,
knew.
okay. Right.
So yeah, a little bit different, but same general stuff. So I was able to
Mm.
hop into it pretty quickly. I dropped out of college my freshman year. It was
Mm.
not for me. So I immediately, I mean, it was fun, but it wasn't for me.
I totally get you, bro. Actually, I
Yeah.
was I was in my third year, and I haven't dropped out yet. I took a leave of absence to also pursue um this marketing stuff, like X stuff. So yeah, I definitely I'm on the same boat.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. But fun does not, get you to
Give you
class at
money.
8 in the morning. Um, so yeah, I mean, I hopped out and I was terrible that first month. I had that realization. I started getting better and better and better and
Mm.
building a book of business. And I was there at that job for about 2.5 years before I started my first business.
And your first business was
My first business was an indoor baseball academy.
wow.
So it was for training
Hmm.
for, it was mostly 5 to 19-year-olds. So I played college all the
Mm.
way, or I played baseball all the way up through college.
Right.
Um, and that was like my life. So that was what I
Mm.
wanted to get back to. I
Mm.
didn't see myself as a salesman. I saw myself as kind of like an entrepreneur and somebody who was doing sales to save up money to start a business. Like,
Right.
um, but yeah, that was my first business, and boy, that one it just smacked me in the face like every week, man.
What happened? What happened?
Oh man, it was a lot, like so like with this, I'm mostly dealing with like kids, and
Yeah.
like I underestimated the parents, man. They were just so intense. Like I'd be like, okay, like I got them, like, and I'd hand them off to one of my employees, and my employees were great. And, we had like an upstairs balcony, and they'd be like yelling down, Johnny, get your elbow up, get your elbow up, Johnny. And I'm like, You know, Johnny's like 6 years old and is like crying while he's doing this. I'm like, oh my God, man, this is not this serious. Like, Johnny sucks. You're just gonna have to be okay with that.
Dude, are these your employees like getting angry at the kids or?
No, no. I mean, I sometimes, but no, not really. It's their parents getting
Oh,
angry
I
at
see.
him, man. Their parents are nut jobs. Like, and I mean, some of the parents were like the nicest people in the world, but then like you have, I swear to God, we had this like 6-year-old come in, and the dad's like, he's gonna play professional baseball. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, he's already the best on his team. Like, that's our goal. We're bringing him in here so that we can work from the time he's 6 to the time he gets drafted. I'm like, Timmy, don't you want to just go have fun? Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, man, that was nuts because like I was on the fly, like learning marketing, learning everything that I had to do to like get the money into the place. I was
Mm,
learning dealing with employees because,
yeah.
I've had employees for the first time ever.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was learning with dealing with like the upkeep of it was like a 7,000 square foot building that we had.
Right.
And dude, it was every day something else. I remember like it was like 10 o'clock at night and I was about to go home because I would be there from like 7 in the morning to like 10 p.m.
Yeah.
and the air conditioner broke.
Yeah. What
And
happened?
man, I live in Florida. Like we can't have a broken air conditioner.
Yeah.
like and so I was there until like midnight. I had never opened an air conditioner before. I was there till like midnight trying to fix this air conditioner because I couldn't get an air conditioning company out there.
Yeah.
And like there's water all over the ground. Like I just had no clue what I was doing, man. I thought I broke it. Finally I got it fixed at like 1 in the morning.
What happened? Like, what happened to the air conditioner?
I mean I like fixed it with like duct tape and just by banging on it and stuff
Just,
eventually.
just just hammering it, like looking for what works.
Yeah, no, that was exactly it. It was like 2, 3 hours of me just like tying duct tape where I thought it would work. Like I had no clue what I was doing, man. But
That's hilarious, bro.
the next, it was like 2 days later, I had to keep like banging it in like one spot to keep it working. And like 2 days later, I finally got an air conditioning guy out there, and I'm like sitting there watching him doing everything he's doing so I could learn it and not have to like spend $500 on somebody to come out again.
Dude, that's hilarious. And what happened eventually to the business?
So eventually the business, I sold it off in parts.
Right.
So I eventually like just hated it. I, I I really hated everything about
Yeah.
it, man. And and yeah, push came to shove. I was like, okay, dude, I'm done. Like
Right.
I could hold on to this and try and sell it whole or try and sell it this way or that way. And like I was just like, no, I can't do this anymore. I
Yeah.
was burnt out. I was working 7 days a week, oftentimes like 10
Mm,
to 15 hours a day. It
right.
was just too much.
Right.
I'd have parents texting me on Sunday night at 10 p.m. like, hey, why isn't Johnny playing more? I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like I'm just trying to hang out. Um, but
Was there a
yeah,
turning point? Like, was there a kid who you just like, yeah, fuck this. I ain't dealing with this shit anymore? Or was it just like
oh,
slowly?
I would say it was mostly slowly, but I remember this is when my girlfriend lived about an hour away,
Mm,
and I had just finished up, I think it was 43 straight days working.
mm,
And I was going to take that Monday off, and I
mm.
drove to go see my girlfriend Sunday night. And I sit down on the couch at her apartment, and my phone goes ding, and I'm like, nope, this is it.
Fuck this.
Nope, done.
That's funny,
I
man.
Yeah, I was done. And then, I the funny part is last day of operation was uh December 31st, 2019.
Uh-huh.
So right before COVID hit.
Yeah.
And like the business would have been done if I had kept
Right.
it
Yeah,
when
that makes
during
sense.
COVID.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Wow. That was a somewhat like a lucky break for you, you know? You closed,
Oh,
yeah.
big time, dude. I would have been screwed.
Yeah. It would have been, yeah. That was very lucky, man. And during COVID, like what happened? Where'd Corey go?
So Cory actually started another business immediately.
Right.
So it was in sports analytics. And dude, I
Mm.
had no fucking clue what I was doing. Once again, I had no clue what I was doing. If there's ever a recurring theme, it's that when I start something, I have no clue what I'm doing. Like I, I'll be the first to admit that. Like personal branding, what I'm doing right now, I have no clue what I'm doing. And don't anybody watching, don't DM me. Don't DM me telling me you can help. Please, for the love of God. Um, but yeah, so sports analytics, I had no clue what I was doing. I just know that I liked it a lot. And so I put some money into getting it started up. And I'm starting to build a little bit of an audience, a little bit of top of funnel, and all of a sudden sports get shut down. Of course, right? And I'm like, well, fuck me, like I find something that I like, and now
It's
sports are shut
COVID.
down. Yeah. And so for 6 months, I'm just like sitting there twiddling my thumbs, like, all right, well, what do I do now? I was like out there betting on like politics and like this and that and the other thing, like anything I could do to pass the time. Um, and then finally sports started back up,
Hmm.
and that one actually grew really well.
Sports
That business
analytics.
actually grew, yeah, really well. And I um ended up building it to over 100 paid subscribers, over 1,500
Hmm.
unpaid subscribers, and like built the top of funnel just from sheer I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I'm gonna be here 10 hours a day. um and I still don't know what I'm doing when it comes to top of funnel. But bottom of funnel, I'm an expert. Top of funnel, I still don't know, but I will, if I'm there 10 hours a day, I can make it work. um
And
but
this is
anyway,
still ongoing, the business, or you also
no,
moved on?
no. So this one I sold to another company in that industry.
Right.
I got to I actually posted a tweet about it a few days ago, a post about it, whatever it may be. Um, I got to about I got to exactly 111 paid subscribers,
Mm.
and over 1,500 on the email list.
Mm.
And dude, I hated it. I I yeah, I mean, there's a recurring theme here that I just like burn myself out and don't have like stuff that's really fun to start. Just like I work way too much on it and it's just not fun anymore. Like, and yeah, so like I hated it at that point. I was like, dude,
Yeah.
I got to get the fuck out of here. It was another situation where like Sunday night, I'm getting my phone blown up, ding, 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 ding. Like, you know, there was one story like I went to Christmas at my girlfriend's parents' house, and like, dude, they were opening presents, and I was in the guest room like fixing stuff because like my program went down that I was running, and so I'm in the back room fixing stuff, and then I come out, do Christmas, we leave, and I'm in the car, and my phone starts blowing up again because I didn't fix the program right. And so I'm like going 120 down the highway on Christmas Day, like, oh my God, I got to get home and fix this. And that's when I was just like, dude, that another one of
Screw
those
this.
moments. I was, yeah, nope, I'm out. I'm out, man. So I sold that one to another site in the industry, and then I stayed on with them for 3 months. And then after that, I was like, dude, I just want a normal life. Like, I want to be the guy with like the hat and the briefcase, just bye, honey, like,
Yeah, the American
or
dream.
yeah, I'm home, dear. How's dinner?
Yeah.
Like that's all I wanted at that point. So, um, I took a sales job with a tech company,
Mhm.
and uh, within like 2 months, I started another company. It was just like I just did it part time, but
Yeah.
like I couldn't stay away. It was, it was like a
It's
needle in
just
my
in your
arm,
blood,
man.
bro. It's just in your blood.
Yeah. Um, and So long story short, I stayed with that company for about a year. I was building
Mm,
something else on the side.
mm,
The thing that I was building on the side, I actually sunsetted it December 31st of this year. So didn't
mm,
sell it in any way, shape, or form.
right.
Just wrote it off into the sunset. During that time, I did start another company,
Mm,
which was once again in a similar arena, doing something a little bit differently. And long story short, I got the shit kicked in, on me on that company. I got my ass kicked. I was like, oh man, like very little budget. I'm going to take on the big boys of this industry. I got this. I'm sitting here for 4 months, just like locked myself in a room doing nothing but building stuff for this. Just
yeah.
like, and I thought I had come up with like bulletproof, incredible, I'm going to sell so much of this. And I start selling like a good amount of it. Like,
Yeah.
orders start coming in. I'm all pumped about it.
Yeah.
And then the biggest company in the industry comes up with something that is basically the same thing, but a million times better. They just, they poured like $100,000 into it and did it in
Right.
like a week.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, all right, well,
Fuck.
that's, that's done. Like, I I have I have no chance there. Like so I like pivoted and kind of like downshifted
Mm,
to try and make it work, but it was like I spent more time building than I did running that company because I just like dude, I was pouring so much money into it. I was just like, all right, fuck it, it's getting shut down. Like like um and so from there, that just about brings us up to I've been a dental insurance broker for going on a
mm,
year now.
right.
That's my current 9 to 5.
Mm,
Um, and I mean, it's not bad. Um, I like it.
mm,
I get to sell stuff. It's all inbound. So, um, it's not anything that's like super special, but once again, it was kind of like one of those points where I didn't want anything super special.
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, hey, pay my bills, let me work from home.
Oh,
Don't,
it's work from home, just like
yeah,
digital. Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Well, I mean, you started Twitter, dude, so it's gonna be one of those. I feel like it's gonna be one of those things again where you just start.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm actually thanks to Mark Agerskoff. I always
Yeah.
mess up his last name, but our good friend Mark.
Yeah.
Um, I'm actually gonna be doing a goal where I'm like, all right, can I replace my nine to
Here we
five's
go.
monthly income in
Here
a
we go.
month? And I'm like, dude, I was messaging Mark about something. He's like, why don't you do this? Like,
Yeah.
why don't you make it like a Twitter challenge? I'm like,
Yeah.
this was last night. I'm like, oh, Mark, that
Yeah.
sounds like a fantastic idea. And I wake up this morning, I'm like, oh shit, I'm in it again, aren't I? Like,
At least
here
it's
we
a good
go.
addiction, bro. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes money, you know?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no, absolutely, but like, as long as I'm not spending like 12 hours a day again,
Yeah.
right? Like, because you ask my girlfriend, she's like, well, I never got to go on dates with you. Like, like you were working all the time. I'm like, oh, yeah,
Dude,
I was like, I'm sorry.
props to your girlfriend, man. She's a warrior, bro. She's a
Oh,
warrior.
yeah, she is. No joke. I mean, first of all, she has to put up with me, like
Yeah.
just in general. Secondly, like she's had to put up with this for the last 5 years. So she met me and I was running my baseball academy, it seemed like something very steady that was just gonna happen for like 20 years. I had this site with it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that anymore. She's like, oh, what are you gonna get a job? I'm like, no,
No, new
no,
business.
I'm gonna start something in this industry that I have no experience in whatsoever.
Dude, this is I now that you're making me realize that entrepreneurship sounds like just ethical gambling, you know?
Ethical, yeah, depends on what you're doing. You can make it very unethical very quickly. So yeah, I mean, ethical. Yeah. But no, I mean, it is, dude. And
Yeah.
you get that. I don't know how much you actually gamble, but like you get down to the felt, your last dollar on it, and you're either double your money or you're
Yeah,
screwed. you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Or
And
you'd be like you got so much, you'd be like, fuck it, no. I'm not doing this no more.
yeah, no, I mean, dude, you get enough, you go to the fucking you go to the cage, you get your money, you cash your
Yeah.
chips out. Yeah, man. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think this is a good place to end it. I like to end my podcast asking my guests like 5 resources, like any author, artist, book, like anything really that comes in the top of your head that shaped your personality, your career, basically just, anything that you would recommend people.
Oh man. Uh, 5. Okay.
Even a song.
Even a song. Oh man. Now you're really gonna get to see the artistic side of me.
Let's
Um,
go.
no, I think a good one in terms of the sales side of things is Chris
Yeah.
Voss.
Dude,
N-
bro.
yep, Chris Voss, fantastic. And a lot of what he talks about is so much more than sales. So it's really, tactical empathy, very
Yeah.
much lining up with what I like to do on
Yeah.
the sales side of things. Oh man, resources aside from that, what do I read? Now I'm drawing a blank. Let's see. Oh, uh, not something that has to do with what I'm currently doing, but there is some fantastic programming courses out there.
Programming.
Learn to code,
Mm-hmm.
learn to code. That never goes away. So I suck at it, but at least I have some kind of base level knowledge. Let me see. Um, I have a good one. I put a tweet out on it. You don't have to go to my tweet, but read the story of the guy from the Red Sox who came up. This is probably the most unorganized one of these you've ever seen, but
No problem,
the
dude.
story of the guy from the Red Sox, they called him up, Chris Bosser, I think his name is, something like
Mm.
that. Um, if you want to scroll my tweets, it's in there. Google it. But
Yeah.
uh, dude had like 17 broken bones, was out of the
Whoa.
league, and then 2 years of like being a tow truck driver or something, and then all of a sudden he picked up a baseball, started throwing it again, and now he's in the major leagues.
Wow.
Like, oh
That
yeah,
is,
crazy story.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely.
crazy comeback story there. Oh, for people really just getting started in their journey, let me actually pull it up. I don't want to botch this one. Um, bear with me for just a second. I actually
No
just
problem.
sent this to someone talking about their MVP the other day. Almost there. Here we go. Startup school with Michael Siebel, how to build an MVP, and he touches a little bit on, I forget his name, but the creator of Twitch,
Right.
um, and the way
That's
that
very
he built
interesting.
his MVP.
Wow.
That extremely valuable to me, man.
Okay.
Extremely valuable. It's free. It's on YouTube.
Dude,
How to build an MVP startup school.
startup
Um,
school. Okay, definitely
but yeah,
looking
that
at
one's
that.
great.
Okay.
And last one, um, dude, I'll quote a Bible verse, Psalms 3:6. I got it tattooed. So,
Uh-huh. What is that?
um, I will not be afraid of the many thousands of people set out against me all around.
Wow. Powerful,
So,
dude.
yeah, I mean, in reality, you're starting a company, you got a million different competitors, especially, in the space that we're in, with all of the solopreneurs and everything like
Mm.
that. Um, you know, never be afraid. And honestly, so many people, and I got a hard stop in about a minute, but so many people, you know, if you're on the phone, if you're on the phone with a billion-dollar CEO, if you're on the phone with Elon Musk, I don't
Mm.
care, man. Don't act scared. Too many people act scared. Stop it.
Yeah. Putting
Stop
people on
it.
a pedestal.
Exactly. You are who you are. They're a person. You reach out, you
Yeah.
shake their hand, you shake their virtual hand, you know, like
Mm.
stop it. Don't be scared. Stop putting people on a pedestal. So yeah, that's what that one means to me right now in this point in my life. But
Love it, dude. I love it. Okay, it was fun having you. I know you have to go out work now, but thanks for the time. Everyone look up Cory Woody Sales in X. He also has a website, and definitely check him out. He's a great sales dude. So yeah, thank you, Cory.
thanks for having me, man. It was a ton of fun. Anytime you want to hop on a call, we'll have some laughs.
Okay, all right. See you guys.